Hello and welcome once again to the How Long to Beat podcast. You are listening, as always, to me, Rick, alongside my co-host Alex.
Hello.
And Paula.
Hello.
Who, in a perfectly audio-friendly move, has come dressed in a lab coat. More on that later. As always, we're going to talk about the games we've beaten, retired, and been playing. We're then going to touch on knowledge-based unlocks in games. Plenty to unpack there. And then we'll finish with what I think is the last round of this game week in the latest run of How Long to Beat The Game.
Ooh,
So that will be exciting. Let's roll straight through this. So I am the only person who's finished games this week. So
I'm playing big uns, so I got nothing.
and mine are, I actually haven't had loads of gaming time this week either, same as I think you two, but my gaming time has been well directed. So I've got two small sort of itch games. I'll cover those first. First of those is Gummy Shooter. I've had this tab open on my browser for like a year, meaning to download it and play it, and I finally did. And it took all of 10 minutes to play. It is a interesting little side-scrolling shooter where you can only move forward while you're shooting, and you can only regenerate bullets when you stop, and you can backstep and that'll stop the reload. But it's like a speedrun sort of score attacky thing where there is a predetermined finite set of enemies, and the challenge is how quickly can you get through all of those. Fun little distraction, nice enough. Graphics are lovely. A little bit like, was it Bag Tower that I played the other week. It's an idea that I don't think could necessarily sustain itself, but it's nice as a little bite-sized experience for what it is. Second short game I played is a browser-based visual novel called GUTLESS. This is by a collective called Domino Club, which counts friend of the podcast Cecile Richard among its members. Their whole shtick is they don't tell you who made the game that is being released under that branding. It's like an anonymized thing. The writing does feel a bit different to Cecile's. Maybe that's the point. I don't know. But it's about a captain on a Lovecraftian sort of flesh vessel in a future on a desperate mission. It takes 15-20 minutes to read. It's a kinetic novel in the sense that there are no choices to make or no choices that affect the fundamental narrative. I thought the story was utterly compelling. I don't really want to say anything more about it because I think it's something that should be played and should be experienced. It's not a big investment, but the story has stayed with me. And it's an interesting tale, interestingly told. So I was a big fan of this one, and I encourage anyone listening to seek it out on itch. If we are organized, you might find a link in the show notes. Otherwise, if you go onto itch.io and search Gutless, I imagine it will come straight up. And then the one biggie that I've beaten this week is Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars. The Isle Dragon Wars? The Isle Dragon Roars. Whoa. It's the first of 3 of the Voice of Cards games that they made. I enjoyed it with some caveats. As I've said when we've talked about this game in previous weeks, the conceit of it all being card-based is this game's solitary, unique hook. There are other things it does that are uncommon but not novel. So the combat being based around like an action points-based thing, where the action points regenerate over time and they're a party pool. Bravely Default does it a little bit that way. There are other RPGs I've played that use similar systems. The combat is not difficult outside of a couple of optional encounters. So it's largely window dressing in a lot of respects. It determines to a certain extent which choices you'll make and how you move things around, but not massively. Similarly, there is a party setup choice to be made, both in terms of individual party members within the group and also the skill set and abilities of each party member. I only had to tweak those maybe a couple of times in the whole game. And it's not to say it's a bad system, it just feels a little bit underutilized because the combat just isn't difficult enough to make you take advantage of that. I did like that it was very very short, and I mean that in the sense that it didn't pad itself out. It was a streamlined and focused package. I beat the whole thing in around about 12 hours from memory, and I think if anything that was ever so slightly too long. But it's worth saying I did also seek out optional encounters and had this like OCD thing of turning over every card on the world map. So I sort of explored the whole thing every single time, which you don't need to do to progress the game. And there are a couple of story-focused instances where you literally can't, but to the extent that I could, I did. It has put me off a little bit playing the other two, just because I gather that they are this, but again, basically. So I think for people who are listening, if you've played other short RPGs that we've recommended, things like Cosmic Star Heroine, Jack Move, and you want a short RPG, you like the aesthetic, I would probably say look at the 3 store pages, see which story intrigues you the most, pick that one and play it, and that's probably you. I may well return to the other 2 another time, but I think for the time being, I'm happy that I've had my fill of Voice of Cards. Really happy I played it. I did enjoy it. I think the package itself is strong, as long as you are aware of the shortcomings of the setup. It's the kind of game that I probably couldn't in good conscience recommend to either of you, because I don't think the pros outweigh the cons versus other things you might want to put your time towards. But I don't think that's the case for everyone. I think there is really, and I feel like I say this every time I play a short RPG that is good or great, there is absolutely a space in the market for a shorter RPG experience that ticks all of those boxes, and you can absorb in 20, 30-minute chunks over a period of time, or binge in a weekend. I ended up doing the former. And this absolutely is that. It's almost like a Metroidvania 8 sort of thing, where it's hard to recommend because there are loads of other great options, like Cosmic Star Heroine, infinitely better than this. Jack Move, infinitely better than this, albeit different art styles, different settings, different setups. All of that negativity is to say that this was like a 7/8 for me, and I really enjoyed it. And that maybe brings us neatly on to a game that you might be retiring, Alex, that you have enjoyed but might not be finishing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, I'm retiring, not to bury the lead, I'm retiring Hi-Fi Rush, just because, honestly, it was like, I went on vacation, and obviously didn't play any Xbox, and I have not even really touched my Xbox this week, because of how freaking busy that I was, just getting everything sort of squared away. Like, this week's actually going to be a slightly less intense. Let me put it this way. I had 116 essays to mark over the last week. Yeah, of which the shortest was like 2 pages, double space, right? Like, they're all like they're long essays. And so I was just like, shit. Having this moment where it's like, I don't have time. I'm just marking all the time, basically. So I was thinking about it, and there's a certain game coming out next this Friday, or will it be out by the time that you're listening to this, which is Resident Evil 4 Remake, which looks like it is absolutely everything that I want entirely, and it looks perfect. And I had a bunch of old games that are kind of worthless, but they're all technically worth $10 DB games, so they have the 3-for-1 trade-in deal, and I always like giving them games that are literally like, I don't think I could sell this game, but if you guys want to take it and give me a brand new game, I'm happy to give you them. It's fine by me. So I did that, and so I've got that pre-order waiting. Yeah, so that's kind of it, honestly. I love the game, but I recognize that it was like, it's this or Dead Space, and at the moment I'm like, well, I paid for Dead Space, so I'm gonna beat Dead Space. You know what I mean? Well, I didn't pay for Dead Space either. I had trade credit for that, but do you know what I mean? I own Dead Space. Hi-Fi Rush is just on Game Pass. I can play that whenever.
That's a whole can of worms with the whole Game Pass model and the way that it makes you look at those games. That is definitely one we need to come back to.
Yeah, I feel like I've talked Game Pass into the ground, but we can talk it again sometime if you want. I don't think I have anything interesting to say anymore.
We'll see. But it'll be interesting because you're going to have a survival horror sandwich going on there.
Oh, hell yeah. My two of my favorite, like, those are like my favorite survival horror games of all time. And I'm going to get both, like, 2 remakes of them in 1 year. This is the best year to be a survival horror fan. I'm like, my God, those are like, yeah, literally, like, Resident Evil 4 is one of the greatest. Although, I don't think it's actually fair to call Resident Evil 4 survival horror because it's not. It's action.
It's a bit more a thrill ride, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
action horror. You know, like it's not. That's when it really jumped the ship, and it's super fun. Dead Space is more survival horror than Resident Evil 4, I think, but also in a similar vein. Like they're so similar to each other, just in totally different areas. But in terms of influences and stuff, like you can tell, like they were deeply inspired by Resident Evil 4 with that game. But I'll
And
talk
if you
about
go back and look at Dev Diaries, that is absolutely true. They saw Resident Evil come out mid development, and they were like, "This is the kind of thing we're supposed to be doing."
This is the way.
Yeah, literally, and yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%, and they nailed it, and this remake nailed it, and it's looking, you know, by all extents and purposes, that the Resident Evil 4 remake fucking nailed it as well. Things got like a 92 or something on OpenCritic, which is like absurdly high when it comes to OpenCritic. So I'm just like, yep, looks like they fucking nailed it yet again, which makes me very, very happy. And now I'm curious to see if they'll end up redoing 5 and 6, because I actually think you could, like, there is actually a fun game under those. They just sort of screwed them up a little bit, but I'd rather see like Code Veronica and like Resident Evil and Resident Evil 0 get remade first. Like, because I know there is a remake of Resident Evil technically, but I just really want to see, like, you know what, do 0 and 1 together as one game in a remake, and like, ooh, fucking sick. Be so down.
You know they'll charge separately for those. That's not going to happen.
Probably,
You
but
can
with,
dream,
with
but it's not gonna
Capcom these days, though, I'm not. I wouldn't even be upset if they did, because the only reason I think is that, like, I think they might have learned, because again, when they released 3 separately, I don't think it did quite as well. So I don't know. I could see them. I don't know if 0 would have its own staying power, but that's a whole other thing. Resident Evil on its own, you could easily remake that and sell it for full price, and it would be totally worth it. But I don't know. I haven't actually played 0. It's one that I've always meant to, but it seems like it's even a little too archaic for me at this point. Anyway, that's my ramblings. What about you, Rick? You retired something as well, haven't you?
I did, and this is one I spoke about briefly last week. It is a game called Tokyo 42, and unfortunately, the negative reviews on the Steam page for this game were spot on. The isometric viewpoint is a massive hindrance to everything it's trying to do. So this is like a top-down cyberpunk game. It's supposed to be a combination of exploration, assassination, platforming, and general combat. The tricky thing with the combat is it's one-hit kill, so there's no room for error. And to make the combat work in the slightest, you have to be able to move the camera and the person and your aim at the same time. And you only really have enough inputs properly for 2 of those things. So the inelegant solution that the developers implemented is a quarter turn, might even be a quarter turn, but like a 90-degree angle change left and right on Q and E. If you are on keyboard, that is unplayable, because to move your camera, you have to stop moving. If you stop moving in a firefight with more than one person, you are dead. So once it started throwing some more involved firefights at me, I had to switch to keyboard, to controller rather, which helps a little bit because those movements are then mapped to left bumper, right bumper. But I had some real problems getting the aiming on the right analog stick to feel right. And ultimately, I just couldn't quite get there. The platforming was actually okay. There was a lot of criticism of that. I didn't necessarily mind it. There's a little sort of guide circle underneath your character when they jump. I found that was more than enough to navigate myself, and it was a really aesthetically pleasing world to explore, to the extent that I did explore it. It's got this real interesting sort of, I suppose it's almost a halfway house between Mirror's Edge and something grittier like a Jack move, where it's all these flat textures, clean lines, it's all angular design, but from that isometric perspective, you can still see some of the detail in things, and there's a bit more detail than Mirror's Edge tried to do. So I think from a visual perspective, it was a real triumph, and I think that's probably where the developers have fallen a little bit. They've got this amazing vision, and from a purely visual perspective, they've nailed it, but they're making a video game, and the video game part fundamentally doesn't work, really. I think I spent 10 minutes bashing my head against this fight before eventually getting through it. And then I got to the next one and I just noped out. It wasn't worth plowing more into it. And, you know, again, it's a shame because there was definitely a good game under there. The beginnings of an interesting story. You know, classic Cyberpunk, you're framed for murder and you've got to find out who's responsible. And it's all the corpse and, you know, infighting and backstabbing and all that stuff. So, yeah, I do apologize. So really interesting one there. The game's got to be fun to play, and this just wasn't. So it got parked, unfortunately.
And that's kind of the most important part of a game.
Well, exactly. And not the only game I've had some real heartache with this week as well, because I did want to like it. I'll just expend all of my stuff and then I can take a rest while you guys talk about your playing. So one of the games I was playing last week was Muramasa Rebirth for the Vita. I was playing that on a 64 gig memory card, which died. And like, I knew it was on the way out. I backed up my saves. Cleverly, I hadn't made the time to copy those save backups to my computer. And the memory card corrupted to the extent that the application you use to do the computer conversation, which is called Vita Shell, corrupted to the point that I couldn't delete it, couldn't open it, couldn't change it. So
you really bugged it.
That setup is gone, girl. Now, the flip side of that is I've come away largely unscathed. Like, I have lost a lot of save games, mostly completed saves. So Ratchet and Clank Trilogy, those completed saves didn't really matter. They're gone. I lost my Persona 4 Golden completed save. I was never going to New Game Plus that. It's much of a muchness. It doesn't really matter. Like, it sucks, but it doesn't really matter. The most frustrating loss was that I played about 3 hours into the new campaign of Muramasa, and that's gone forever. Now, that would have been annoying because there's an extra difficulty unlocked with New Game Plus, which is what I was playing on. Fortunately, and this is bougie as fuck, on one of my other Vitas, I had that other save duplicated, and that's a 32 gig card, which is absolutely fine. So I've had to start my replay again, but I haven't lost the ability to play it on that higher difficulty. And, you know, Muramasa is one of those 11 out of 10 games that I don't mind playing those opening hours again. Like, it's fine. I get to experience it all over and I'm enjoying doing so. So it's not too bad. It could have been far worse. Got away with that. But I have made negative progress on the game this week, which is fun. Made positive progress on Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I am, I think, about a quarter of the way through, roughly. Non-spoiler for anyone who's played or playing the game. I am approaching Mako Reactor 5. Really good. Still really enjoying it. Definitely slightly interesting now, thinking back to reviews talking about what a technical masterpiece it was on PS4. It does look great, but some of those textures take their sweet time to load in. And there is some PS2 asset work at parts, all of which is fine. Like, the overall game is still phenomenal, but it doesn't necessarily jive with what I remember reading, which was an interesting discovery. Played a lot more of Desta The Memories Between. It's interesting because it is a roguelike, but they are preset levels. So there's not really much RNG. To the extent that it has it is only enemy placement within those pre-baked levels, which I like. I also like that it gives you the option to skip early parts that you've already done, or it incentivizes you to replay the game by giving you extra buffs for playing the bits you played again. The combat's good. The gameplay's good. I'm still quite early doors, but I can already tell there are a lot of avenues for the game to open up new options and opportunities for me. You end up with parties of 3 playing through the various levels. Anyone who's listening who's got a Netflix account, it's free on mobile. You literally go into your Netflix client on your phone, download the app, Android or iOS, and you're good to go. It's well worth a try at that price. The writing is getting a little better. The characters are warming on me. Some of that is definitely, you know, the British solidarity sort of thing. It's very authentically written for the area of the UK that it is. And that's been an enjoyable aspect for me in particular. Your mileage may vary with that, I suppose, but the game has left a very, very good first impression so far with me. And then 2 new games this week. So the first of those is Mark of the Ninja Remastered, one of the original Clay games after they made Shank and Shank 2. I have interesting memories of this playing on a really awful PC that could only barely handle it. Maybe 12 years ago, the game wasn't long out. It had just been in one of the Humble Bundles. And I was playing with like a wired third-party controller with the most god-awful buttons you've ever seen in your life on a crikey, what was the resolution on that
We've
screen?
all had those controllers.
It was like 720 by 1028 or something awful.
Nice.
But the game was great and the quality shone through then, and it's absolutely still shining through now. It's nice curling up with it on Switch, in an evening, and being able to enjoy the blacks of it in that kind of environment. I'm not really a big stealth fan, but the stealth here in this 2D setting with lots of options for misdirection and movement is still a lot of fun. So really enjoying revisiting this one. And I've also started Front Mission for the Nintendo DS. So this is a port of a classic SNES turn-based RPG. The DS release was the first time it got localized officially into English. And I think it was supposed to be in some respects a remake. It does retain a certain amount of age is the wrong word. It retains a certain amount of not archaic. There's a lot of sort of old style design and sensibilities that are still present in this game. In terms of the menus, in terms of how slow the text scrolls, in a few other bits. I have my concerns about the combat long term because all of the Wanzers seem to have 3 kinds of attack: long range, short range, melee. I am mildly concerned that might limit the amount of variety in the combat in the long run. But my early impressions are quite good. Graphically, the pixel art style and the little sort of moving mechs, wonderful on the DS. They make great use of the second screen. They put almost all of the pertinent information you need on the top screen, and then all the actions happening on the main screen. And I think particularly for turn-based RPGs and games where there's lots of relevant numbers that you need all at once, it's those sort of situations where the DS and the 3DS absolutely excel. And this seems to be no different. So cautious optimism at this stage. I have enjoyed what I've played so far, and I look forward to absorbing more of it. That is me. I get to shut up for a little bit now. Paula, what have you been playing this week?
So first of all, I've been playing Pokemon Scarlet because I'm still like trying to, in this stage of the game, I'm trying to raid a competitive team. And also, I've been sorting out my PC boxes and making a live box. That means having like the whole Pokédex inside of the PC box. So, and you have like a copy, one of each Pokemon of the entire Pokédex. By the way, I'm about halfway through organizing the boxes. I'm freeing up some space because since I went into a bit of a frenzy like with the team building a little bit earlier, I had like boxes and boxes of Eevees and Sprigatitos, which I promptly surprise trade, and then started releasing like all the duplicate Pokemons that I was getting. And yeah, it's been kind of like slow over here in Pokemon Scarlet, though there was an event recently during the weekend where you could catch the Decidueye, which is a Pokemon from the Sun and Moon games, and it's one of the starters, so you could catch 6 IV, like perfect stats, the Decidueye with the Theatrhythm flying, and it is a level 100 Decidueye, which we caught. I have to say, I even carried the team because he had a level 100 Miraidon, and somehow he nearly one hit KO'd the Decidueye, which, by the way, it is a 7-star raid, so those are usually pretty difficult to beat. But it seems not in this opportunity. And that is about it for Pokemon Scarlet. I've also been playing something that makes Rick really, really happy, which is Citizen Sleeper. Finally, I chose the how do you pronounce that? Machinist. And right now, I haven't been able to really take advantage of that extra point on what is it called, engineering stuff. Because I'm not very far into the game. But I have to say it's very interesting. The setup is very interesting. Should I say it or should I leave it in suspense so people can experience it for themselves, because it is a very story-driven game.
Well,
I think probably as spoiler-free as you can, maybe. But yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you haven't already played this, maybe skip a minute. But yeah, as spoiler-free as you can, I reckon.
Okay, so you are, from what I gather so far, you pretty much run away from somewhere, and you have to somewhat make your own life, or escape from this place or whatever, or you have some kind of objective. But the thing is, you have limited time because reasons. And on each day counts as a cycle, so you have three dice from what I gather, or maybe more dice, I don't know what it depends on, that are rolled at the start of the day, and then you get those rolls. Let's say I got a 3, a 4, a 5. So I get to pick in which event I use my each of the dice rolls. And that will probably depend on how risky the action is, because if it's a very risky action, I would rather use a higher roll than if it's a safe action, which is usually talking to people. And here you have to also take care of how many days you have left, and your stamina, which is based on your hunger usually. So if you starve, then you have some penalizations. If you don't eat in a certain amount of time, well, you're dead. So you have to kind of manage your time accordingly, make decisions accordingly, to advance in the story, see what is going on here, and see how you get out of this pickle, which is limited time. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm trying really hard not to go into spoilers because I want to comment so many things about this game, which quite literally blew my mind when I first.
Yeah, this is a spoiler cast waiting to happen. For sure.
This is a spoiler cast waiting to happen, really. Because it, I've only played about half an hour, but there's so many interesting things happening around the character that I chose that I really need to talk about it in depth. And this little segment isn't gonna cut it. Sorry, but that's the truth. And yeah, so far I'm pleasantly surprised with the game. Still not so keen on having my decisions being not my decisions. My roles being made for me, like at the start of the game. I'm having to kind of manage that. Like I'm more into like having each individual event having an individual role, like in this Coliseum, mainly because I like that uncertainty of, am I gonna fail stupidly or am I gonna be a hero here, or just survive like a normal person? And yeah, that's the one thing I'm kind of like iffy on, but overall a very good experience and I want to keep playing it. Speaking of Disco Elysium, I'm kind of missing the voice actor because I usually play in games that have some degree of voice acting, so not having anything accompanying my ears here is kind of like, it feels kind of lonely, not gonna lie. But well, this game was made on a limited budget, so I will have to do with the usual rating.
Yeah, I think it's just one person, isn't it? It's a solo dev.
It is solo dev? Wow, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, Fellow
sure
Traveler is a
yeah.
single person.
So that's why I was
That's
like,
impressive.
there's no way they're having fucking voice acting.
Yeah, there's
someday
absolutely
maybe.
no way.
It's gotten
I know
popular enough.
I know not every game can have voice acting, but it is nice to have voice acting. Like, you know what I mean? Unless it is bad voice acting, then I'd rather go without voice acting.
Yeah, I'm kind of of two minds of it because, like, with this game, I guess the voice acting sometimes gets you to listen through, but I skip so much dialogue so fast. I'm just like, what is it done? What is it done? What is it done? That's just me. Better to have more choice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd always rather the money goes towards something else if it is a choice between voice acting or something different. Like, it's the least important thing.
Speaking of, one game that I've been playing a little bit of that has voice acting is Casehead Noah. And one thing that I was talking about with Rick and Alex before we went on recording was, we cannot talk about the Science Adventure series without a lab coat, because Okabe from Steins Gate pretty much made it obligatory to have a lab coat on at any moment you're talking about the series.
And we thought that was a throwaway comment, but lo and behold, bedecked in a lab coat does Paula arrive.
Yeah, I'm actually practicing my lines for whenever I do play Steins Gate, because right now I'm the first game of the series and Steins Gate's the second game of the series. And I am preparing my mad scientist accent and my evil laughter for the occasion, but that is neither here nor there.
I eagerly await this reveal.
Yeah, Casehead Noah. I haven't been playing too much, but shit started to hit the fan again, as if the I'm gonna say initial shock of something bad happening wasn't enough. Right now, everything is going a little bit out of control. So I'm really looking forward to your eventual playthrough, Rick.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I really want to know, like, how do you react to all this fuckery going on here? Because it is something. I do feel that Steins Gate has a stronger writing and also a stronger protagonist, as much of a mad scientist, completely nuts character Okabe Rintaro is. I do like him more as a main character, and rather than having was it Takumi? I think it was Takumi, because Takumi is a bit of he's a giant, but that's not the reason why it is hard to always read his thoughts. It's more of how he, like, how he talks and how he thinks. Like, it is I sometimes I kind of struggle. Like, I know he's like kind of like reacting to very strong stuff that is going on around him, and honestly he's going kind of insane right now, but still, like, like his overall attitude, I guess, um is not as, could you even call it very relatable? I don't know, but it's not as fun to watch. That's I think that's what I'm gonna say. Still, the there's funnily enough, there's not one character that really stands out to me like right now as being like, hey, like this is like the probably the the kind of one, like the true route character, whatever. Which is kind of refreshing because most of the visual novels that I get to play, they pretty much wave around the main love interest or the main route, even like, hey, this is the main objective, you don't miss it. Like, I know we get it, but in that sense, it's kind of refreshing the way the game is being presented, because right now everything and its shadow is an enemy, which is interesting. That's, I think, all I am able to say without going to really heavy spoiler territory.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I want to hear your reaction to the Science Adventure series, right? Because it is a doozy.
And you will.
And the other game that is like, why did I finish on this one? The other game that I'm playing is Magikarp. I haven't like gone into the next league yet. I haven't even changed. I haven't even retired my current Magikarp, the one I talk about last week yet. So really nothing of note right now. And Alex, do you have something of note to say about those games that you have there?
Not really, but I do have a
God
little
damn it.
bit. Well, yeah, I've only been playing on Transit, so I actually have been playing a lot of Fire Emblem Engage. I'm well past where you are now at this point. I'm well over halfway through, I think. I think there's like 27 chapters or something like that, and I'm like 15, 16, something like that. So I spent a lot of time actually, like, not like grinding per se, but like I was fighting some skirmishes and stuff because I wanted to level. Like, I like to play Fire Emblem, and you don't have to do this when you play the game for sure, but I don't like to class up anyone until they've hit 20, because you're getting rid of experience points if you don't do that. It's better just to get them all the way up there, because they can technically, although there is one particular class that you have to wait till like 40 to class them up, which takes a while. But they're super good anyway. But yeah, I've been playing everything I said last week continues to hold. I still think Three Houses is a better experience than this one, but I really do still love it. Its story it's pretty weak. It's probably the weakest Fire Emblem story in a long time, I think. I think the emblems are a bad idea. The more I've been playing through it now, the more I'm like, this was a bad call. Shame on you. Intelligent Systems, I'm like, this is nostalgia bait. This was stupid. And they haven't gotten even remotely better. They do these things where you have these, I don't think, no, it's not a spoiler. Anyway, there are these there's paralogs in Fire Emblem games, right? And all I will say is that there are some that are related to the emblems, and they're so superficial. Like, it's just, again, the bond dialogue between your character and the fucking emblems are 2 dialogue boxes. One for your character, one for the fucking emblem. Like, I do not understand what the fucking thought process was on doing it like this. I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, I don't like that. Like, I knew, like, the minute I saw it, I was like, oh, not good idea. Especially because, listen, I love Fire Emblem. I do. I truly do. But for fuck's sakes, there are so many characters in the Fire Emblem games, and most of them you couldn't give a fucking rat's ass about. Like, they just don't matter. And you decide to make a game wherein you get all these emblem rings from like the characters on those other games, of which even in Japan, I would be so surprised to know there's not that many people who've played all the Fire Emblem games. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've been out for so long, and there are so many of them. Like, even myself, who has played a lot of the Fire Emblem games, I'm not even close to having played them all. There's a bunch of these heroes who I'm like, who the fuck's this guy? Oh, right. And it's like, and then you don't tell me who they are. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you're gonna do this shit, why not fucking explain a little bit of who these motherfuckers are, besides just having their emblem rings have something signifying the title of the game they're from, which in and of itself is very strange, because it almost implies weirdly that these individuals are these titles in this. It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. And like, the ethics are insane. Have we trapped the souls of these people for thousands of years? What does it mean for time as well? Did all of this play out in a past or in parallel universes? Is there a multiverse in this? What is going on? And the thing is, there is zero explanation that will make this satisfying. Do you know what I mean, right? Like, it's like, yeah, I could sit here and say like, oh, I bet you the reason these emblems are all here is because there's a multiverse and these dragons can communicate across. It's fucking what? Fuck off. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, there's no way you can explain this in a way that I'm going to be like, oh, that's very interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it has no tangible meaning in the world. They're fucking MacGuffins. They're a bunch of fucking MacGuffins. And I don't mind. Video games all have MacGuffins, you know? Also, sorry, for those listening, explain MacGuffins. MacGuffins are, you know, things in a game that they're a thing in media or whatever that you have to go get because they're important for something, but ultimately they just don't matter. They could be anything, right? Like, honestly, the Infinity Stones are MacGuffins, right? They could be anything, but they're Infinity Stones. That's just the form that they take. They're a little bit better than most MacGuffins, but they're MacGuffins, frankly. And that's what the emblem rings are, right? They could be anything else. It's just they're the things you have to collect in order to beat the bad guy, right? It could have been 12 fucking popsicle sticks. It wouldn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's just the things you need, and they happen to be rings that, like, you know, connect you to some other fucking dude. And then you got to make all these fucking stupid rings and put them on all your dudes, and you can't optimize it. You can optimize their inventory, which is a sick fucking idea. I love it. They've done it for a while now in the things, and you can straight up optimize all the ones that you just have like selected to go in. And it's not perfect in its optimization because you'll probably still want to go in and change a couple little things here and there. But it's awesome. But you can't fucking do that with the emblem rings. You got to go through and think to yourself, what fucking stat increase does this guy need? And you're like, okay, so this one. You're like, oh Jesus, I have like 300 fucking rings now. And it's like, oh, it's so fucking stupid. I hate it so much. I'm like, this is the worst thing they've added to Fire Emblem in so long. And I'm just like,
I have to say, like, for a second you started like thinking, strategizing on my strategy game, God forbid it.
This isn't thinking and strategizing. This is fucking minutia. You strategize when you play the fucking game, not when you go into your fucking thing and go, okay, which of these fucking stupid rings do I want to put onto this motherfucker? Because it's not even like you are like, in Three Houses, you got to do like school and shit, right? And so you got to decide like how you're going to do that. You did strategize. You strategized and like, how am I going to improve all these different units and put them through things? And you would put them through stuff. That's like when you go to the arena, right? You're increasing your XP and shit. No, these are fucking trinkets that you shove in your fucking character. They're not it's not fucking strategy. It's fucking, let's give them two. Because you know what? Their buffs are +1 dexterity or some shit. It's like nothing. But then you still got to put them on because you'd be stupid not to. That to me is not thinking and strategizing. Because here's the deal, right? It's not even strategizing. Because all you're doing is going, okay, they're a thief. Thief need dex. Oh yeah, it's a magician. Magician need magic. Oh, that's not fucking strategy. You know what I'm saying? It's literally number crunching, and it drives me crazy. It's so stupid. Strategizing is like creating my team, That's what I love in Fire Emblem. It's like, okay, I have this list of things. I know the weapon wheel. I know that I'm going to need some magic. I know I'm going to need some counters. I'm going to need some archers. Oh, look, this map has a lot of flying enemies, so I'm going to have to boost up on my archers for this one. Oh, look, this map, that's strategy. That's fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like the heart of the game. And that part of the game is like the best it's ever been. It's super fucking good. It's fucking phenomenal. Like, I played a bunch of skirmishes. I never play the skirmishes in Fire Emblem, but I don't care. It's really fun and they're hard. So I was like, that's a great time. But it's like they stripped back all of the like school stuff to now it's just the Somnial, to where it feels like when you go to the Somnial that you're like, you have a checklist of shit you have to do between each battle. You're like, I better go in and do my arena, because now I can do the arena for 3 things. I better go fucking polish my stupid rings. Why do I have to polish fucking rings? Who sat down and was like, do you know what would be fun, guys? It would be really fucking fun if we had a mini game where you hold A on a ring until it goes ding, and your guy goes, thanks, man, for keeping me polished. Oh, fuck off. So fucking stupid, man. I'm like, no.
There's a joke about polishing my ring that I'm not going to make.
Look, there's tons of jokes you can make in there. Yeah, there's tons of shit. Tons of fucking shit. But, oh, Jesus. Anyway, and then because you gotta get your sports stuff, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the fucking stables today. And like, you know what the point? They know it's stupid. They know it's fucking stupid because there's skip results to results shit on all of these things, right? It's literally just like, and it's fine. The Somnial stuff is whatever, because realistically, it's like, here, this is just to kind of like, buff up certain ones of your troops and shit, right? Like maybe some of your troops are kind of falling behind, but it's like all the personality is stripped from it entirely. There's like no reason to. It feels so number crunchy, right? Like it feels like the game went from having this personality to becoming a number cruncher. And I really hate it. I'm like, I really don't like what they've stripped back here. And I feel like I see it more. Like, there are some Fire Emblems that I think mask the fact that, yeah, you're doing a number cruncher kind of game. And they mask that better. And they create this story and they create this kind of narrative and this adventure into it. But Engage, it's like, it's so weird. It's like this crazy positive acclaim that Three Houses got across the board, and it's still one of the most wanted games on Switch. Like, to give you an idea, like EB Games here, right? They only ever really want to buy back Switch games that are like, worth the good shit. They have like a list of like, and obviously this isn't the best metric, but they have like games that they'll buy for $50. Fire Emblem fucking Three Houses has been on there since goddamn release, and it's still there now, even with Engage out. Three Houses, and that's a Fire Emblem game. Those games never sell shit. You know what I'm saying? And like that game was huge, and it's like they saw that, and then they were like, "Why don't we just get rid of everything people liked about it?" I was like, "Why?" And I don't know, why is the weapon wheel back? Why is it back? We have had dozens of games. We've had so many games with the weapon wheel. We've had it. It's there, and then you introduced something that changed the system up. And it made it more interesting, and it was new, and it was fun, and I had to strategize differently. And now it's fucking rock, paper, scissors again? Are you serious? Like, I was like, oh my God, why are we back to fucking rock, paper, scissors? I don't like rock, paper, scissors.
I like rock, paper, scissors.
Are you for real? Rock, paper, scissors. Also, it doesn't make any sense. Why does the axe beat the fucking... What axe beat, I don't even fucking remember. Is it axe beat sword? I can't even fucking remember anymore.
No, axe beats lances because it breaks the lance.
It breaks a lance? I'm going to tell you something right now. Most of history was fought with spears and lances because you know what they do? They go pokey and kill a motherfucker from far away. You're not breaking a fucking lance with an axe.
And that's why they beat swords, because they've got superior reach.
Right? Yeah, and swords somehow beat fucking axe. Like, it makes no sense. It's fucking nonsensical. It is literally just rock, paper, scissors. And you know what? Rock, paper, scissors makes more sense because you can fucking smash a rock with scissors. You can smash...
Yeah, but like what? Oh, paper wraps a rock up and suddenly the rock's rendered useless.
You know what? I can buy it more. Literally, because I can picture a piece of paper wrapping around a rock. The fucking axe beating the lance. I can't picture that. What is that supposed to look like? Is this saying that like when a guy comes in with a lance that the axe guy goes, pah, and like cuts it in half? No, he's stabbed in the chest. Oh god. Anyway, I hate
Hello,
that so much.
Nintendo Japan, Intelligent Systems. Yeah, Alex says he can't picture an axe beating a lance. We need to take it out.
I can't. Well, not every time. It makes no sense. Do you know what I mean? Like they're literally designed to poke a motherfucker. Like it's so funny because like so then why is the sword? Because okay, right. So axe goes against lance, right? Lance goes against sword, which I can understand that because Lance, frankly, should go against everything because it's a pokey stick that no one can fucking fight against because it's a big fucking pokey stick. You just poke a motherfucker with it and they're dead. And anyway, sorry, this is the historian part in me where like I know it's fine. I don't need my games to be historically accurate, especially on Fire Emblem. But if you're gonna base a system around literal things, can it make a little bit of sense? You know what I mean? Like, because it just doesn't. And then also, anyway, and why are both so good against flying? I mean, they should be as good against someone on the ground as they are in the fucking air. It's not like someone in the air is easier to hit than someone on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, look, he's flying. Like, arguably, he's harder to hit because when you're on the ground, you can actually, like, you have, like, a perspective. You can see where they're at. And they're in the air. You just fucking, boink. I hope I hit him. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, but since they're flying, you can just attack the wings and it falls. That's the logic behind it.
That's the logic behind it? Okay. Has anyone ever tried to shoot an arrow at a bird? The fucking shit is not easy, man. That is fucking hard as hell. Like, there's a reason that, like, pheasant hunting and shit only really started when they had guns. Because it was like, now you can actually shoot the damn thing. Anyway, it's whatever. I don't care. I don't need it to be a thing. But I liked the fact that they got rid of that weapon wheel because I always thought it was hokey as hell, and it actually felt to me like it was reducing the strategic output of the game because you knew, like, no matter what, if I have this sword dude, I'm just gonna beat these guys. If I have this dude, I'm just gonna beat these guys. And I preferred the fact that your characters felt a little more loose, and you could I was using a bunch of different weapons with different characters, you know, like I was able to like have more varied individuals in that game. And then in this one, it's just like, no, all right, this is my sword dude, and here's my bow dude, and I better make sure I got one of each because otherwise I'm gonna die. Like, you know, it's just like, and then also it means that certain characters are just tanks in this game, like Louis. You've been playing with Louis, Paula?
Louis is the one with the big armor.
Armor
right?
and the spear, yeah.
Armor and the spear
is invincible. Louis has killed. I played one match where I was outmatched and all my guys died because it was a skirmish and I was way underleveled. Louis killed 20 people in that game. He just stood there and they came at him and they could not do anything because they just can't pierce his armor at all. And yeah, you could say the magic guys can do it. You can fucking kill the magic guys in like 2 shots. They're gone. Even the armored guys can kill the magic guys really fast. They just throw a javelin at them and they're dead. Like, I'm like, anyway, it's like, it doesn't feel strategic to me anymore. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that I know this game, but suddenly the game like, I felt like when I was playing Three Houses that I couldn't cheap it as much, you know? Like, it felt like I couldn't like go, aha, here's the one. And maybe I'm just misremembering. Who knows? Maybe that game had all the exact same issues, but I don't feel that it did because it certainly felt different when I was playing it.
It is interesting because I had the exact same problems that you had with, I mean, not exact same problems, but I had the, Three Houses is like not as strategic because it lacks the weapon triangle.
But how is the weapon triangle strategic? Can you just explain that to me?
Okay, let me explain. If you are able to hit like every weapon with every weapon, like it doesn't matter which weapon you're using, then you're losing like that strategic angle where you have to be like, okay, I have to. It is more probable that I hit that guy if I use this specific weapon. But do I take the chance and try to hit it with this other weapon, even though it is weak against that weapon? If you're playing on, especially if you're playing like on not casual, on classic mode, you have to do a double take, because if you leave your guy unprotected against a unit that is strong against it, then you're probably going to lose them. Instead, in Three Houses, the problem that I had and the reason that I dropped it is because I pretty much kill everything with Dimitri because there was no weapon triangle. There was no way that he would be weak against anything. So
Okay, but
that's
that
the
doesn't
reason
happen
why
in
I felt
Engage. You're not weak against stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, okay, this
you
is,
are,
but you're
especially like in
not.
the higher difficulty.
Maybe in higher difficulties,
So
right? But in higher difficulties, it's fucking hard. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I get to the point where I'm like, sure, but like when you're playing through, like I'm playing on hard. Like that's what I'm playing on right now, and legit, nothing really. Like maybe you're slightly weaker, I guess, against like, but again, you're not, because really the only difference is that you can break an opponent's weapon, right? When you attack with a stronger version. But it's
you
highly
break the
inconsistent.
opponent's stance, but also you have more avoidance or like more higher hit rate depending on the weapon you use against each weapon.
Yeah, but again, that stuff can be just within your stats, right? Like it can be within your class level, within the arts that you have, like especially within the houses and stuff. And so when I'm playing it in this, it's not even really something I think about all that much, because I've also noticed that the break is inconsistent. I'm actually not sure how it functions, because they usually say like, oh, you break them and they're broken for that turn, but I'll break a dude and then the next guy will go to attack and they're not broken. And I'm like, I just broke the guy. Why am I not broken anymore? Whereas they'll attack me, they'll break me, and then the next time I get attacked, I'm still broken, obviously, because I was broken. And so I'm like, what is going on? Like, where is the consistency in this? Is the character too low of a level? Is it whatever? Like the weapon's not a weak weapon. It's just, I don't know. I personally, like, I see what you're saying. I just don't think it ultimately adds, because you know what you mentioned with Dimitri, it's like, yeah, but I'm doing the same thing with Louis, right? Like my javelin dude or my spear dude, I can go attack a guy who has a stronger weapon than me and fucking mince him in a second, because ultimately it doesn't really matter. It's about like the power of my character, right? And so like the only real difference is like, oh, okay, I guess like, you know, the lightning's gonna be weak against me. But it feels to me like you don't need necessarily a weapon triangle for that level of strategy to be in there, right? Like there's all of these classes in Fire Emblem, and it's like those classes themselves, like the classes themselves are the weaknesses against each other. You know what I mean? Like it's not really the weapons themselves, because certain classes can only really use certain weapons. So at the end of the day, I'm like, why base it on the weapons themselves when it's clearly around these different classes that you have, which in and of themselves are like fucking Pokemon, frankly. You know what I mean? Like you have different attacks and stuff. So I don't know. I find the weapon wheel to be reductively simple. And I see your argument. Like I get what you're saying about there being a bit of strategy within this, and like, you know, there's things you have to think about. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's made an impact on my gameplay experience, at least thus far. Like, yeah, I consider it to a degree, but I've noticed that it doesn't really matter. Like, no one's murking my guys based on their weapon, you know? They murk them on level, maybe on, I don't know, tankiness of the individual, right? Like, there's certain characters that are heavily armored. That's what's mattered. Actually, that's honestly what's been mattering way more, is like their armor rating that they have, and their strength level, frankly, or magic casting ability. Because, you know, you like, and again, that comes down to it, because at the end of the day, I'm like, can I survive the hit? Right? That's been the big thing. And so I can send in characters who, I don't know, have high avoid. And it's like, I don't really care what you go to fight against me or what you throw at me. I'm just going to avoid your attack no matter what. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I don't know. I'm just confused why you would try something new and then backpedal so aggressively in the next game. And clearly it has been a bad call, because it is rated significantly lower than Three Houses was. So like, again, on an individual level, I'm sure there are some who really enjoy what they've done and whatnot. But it just feels to me like, yeah, because like Three Houses has an 89 on OpenCritic, right? And Fire Emblem Engage is sitting at an 81. Like, that's a pretty significant difference. And like critics recommend it was a 95 for Three Houses and an 84 for Engage. And like, not that critics are everything, but like that to me really does indicate that like something fucked up here. Like something went wrong with this. And I'm just really sad because I really love Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is my favorite series. I think there's Phoenix Wright and then there's Fire Emblem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are my two favorites. So again, folks, as you listen, when I talk about this is coming from the heart of someone who feels very, very sad because they love this so much. And I want it to be the greatest thing ever. And I want everybody playing these all the time. And I just like, I can't wrap my head around why they did this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just can't figure it out. Like, I just don't know why. Why did they do this? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe you'll figure it out more, Paula, as we go along and as you play more, and maybe it'll reveal itself. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. You have to do a further investigation on who directed the game, and also like what I'm gonna say the main creative team, like the ones calling the shots, were thinking, because when there's a change of direction, especially like you can see it clearly when the original creator of Fire Emblem left the studio. You could see a shift on how the Fire Emblem games were.
Yeah, because when did they leave again?
I can't remember. I think that it was something along the lines of creative differences. But I could be talking about out of my ass. So not really sure there, but
oh, he left a long time ago. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, like at the 4th, 5th game, maybe.
Before Thracia 776, yeah.
Yeah.
In 1999.
So, yeah. Still, I'm gonna die on this hill of the weapon drill does make a difference. It gives more of a chance to some of the units to shine more, as it doesn't precisely nerf a lot of the units, but it does give a little bit of a buff to some of the units because of how the avoidance and what's the hit and avoid thing works. Especially like to the lighter units, I think. Those are the ones that get more of the benefits of the weapon triangle, because otherwise they would maybe be too flimsy. They're too flimsy to survive one hit. So having that extra avoidance does make them more viable in battle.
I mean, ultimately, magic and archers are just, they're busted in this game. Like, they're just like fucking.
Yeah.
They fucking decimate.
They were busted in Negos too, but I don't think they're as busted as in Negos, but they're more busted in Awakening.
Yeah, they're crazy busted in this one. Like, it's actually wild. I can clear a full map with just a magic user. It's insane how strong they are. Because like all you really need to do is just like have a front line and just have them busting people. It's wild, actually. I'm like, it's impressive. And then if you have them on a fucking dragon, oh my god.
Also, if you have a sniper with a longbow,
seriously, that's what
everything within 3 to 4 square radius is dead.
It's just dead, yeah. And they can even take hits in this one because like the archers are actually pretty tanky. Like some of them are, at least, because there's a lord who can be an archer, and like that dude is like, that dude clears levels for me. Like, it's unreal. Like, there's like 3 people. The wyvern lady, the fucking one of the spellcasters from the very beginning, this Lord Archer, and Louis. I might as well just have those 4 as my team because they fucking and literally just castle somewhere, and then everyone comes to you, and you leave Louis out front, and then everyone attacks him, and he just kills them all in like 3 hits, and then you just snipe them. I don't know, and it's weird because even on hard, like, I'm suddenly like, it's not that hard anymore, and I'm like, oh, well, and I'm not playing on classic because I just don't really, I don't know, I almost don't feel like Fire Emblem, I guess it's designed like to play with classic because obviously they give you so many new characters and stuff, but like, is it really? because they have all these training segments, right? So if you play it on classic, the idea is that like, oh, someone will die, now you go do training in some castle so that, you know, if you die, they don't really die. So I was like, I guess you can play on classic and make your game feel 3 times as long. or you can just play it on normal or casual.
Though I have to say, like the units that you get along the way, like are sometimes in a higher level than your own. So
Oh, they're usually way higher level.
yeah,
What I've noticed though is that like if you maintain your units from the beginning, they become significantly stronger than anyone that you pick up along the way.
yeah,
Unless they're a new unique class. Like the new unique classes that you get, obviously the good stuff. But like I don't know. This is just what I've noticed, at least in most Fire Emblem games, because in a lot of Fire Emblem games, I used to, I would just like start playing with the ones that I got, and then what I found is as I got later into the game, that suddenly I was getting really outmatched. And then times when I've just stuck with the original, like sort of people that you get along the way, and really just like focus on a couple characters, it really, because I think that's what Fire Emblem is meant to be played as, at least, is that like you get a core unit and you level those units up and you stick to those units. And when you do that, it's like you have a strong ass team. And then you can like get through a lot of shit. Because there's too many characters to like, you can't micromanage them all. You'll be losing your mind if you try to. Like, there's just some they just have to sit on the bench. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Like, oh, and the other thing you mentioned that I was trying not to interrupt you earlier is that you said you were waiting for characters to hit level 20 to master seal them,
Yeah.
master class them. And the thing about this game is it doesn't work like that anymore. The sooner you reclass your unit, the better. Except when you use a second class seal, like second seal. In that case, it is convenient for you to wait for it to hit level 20 and then you second seal it, and it starts level 1, I think, again. And then, but you get to keep all your stats. Like, you don't lose stats for using the second seal.
Yeah, I mean, but why wouldn't you want? Because like you gain a lot of stats, and then because you're gonna hit the max really soon is the problem. Because in this one, when you master seal, it's the same thing. You go back to level 1.
Yeah, but the thing is that it doesn't make really a difference if you master seal it like soon or later, because the overall growth that you get from the master seal is pretty much equivalent to what you would get to normal level up. So then you get more time to develop your character, and then you use the second seal and reclass them and gain more abilities. It's things
Is it though? Because you
that
get
I think those things matter more if you're like at a crazy hard difficulty level
yeah,
and micromanaging to hell and back your team.
yeah. Because I was gonna say at this point, I don't know. At least for me, it feels like, yeah. I guess do the stats work out like that? Okay. Because I mean, all I know is that when I master seal up, my stats don't increase that much when I master seal. Um, like they didn't jump up very high. Like it's like just a couple points in a few areas. Um, so I don't know. Maybe does it just change? Oh, okay.
The other thing that you get into in higher difficulties is that if your unit isn't getting speed boost on each level up, it's probably dead.
Yeah, you need the speed.
Sorry, I'm having like the
first.
war flashbacks from Fire Emblem Awakening Lunatic Blast.
Yeah. See, that's the thing.
Where
I'm just not interested in that stuff. I mean, that seems. I'm sure people love it and have a good time, but even on hard, it's enough of a challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to keep in mind speed is the best stat in the game because
big
it allows
time.
you to attack more than once.
Yeah. Oh no, it's huge. I mean, it's the whole thing, right? Like that's why I was saying that's what makes my Wyvern lady so strong. She can attack twice before anyone can attack her, and so it's like,
yeah,
she fucking like she never takes damage and kills everybody. Even when they attack her, she gets to go twice first, and she's a fucking spellcaster, so they're dead. Yeah. Anyway, that's Fire Emblem Engage. Like I said, I'm gonna obviously beat this game because I fucking love Fire Emblem, and there's no way in hell I'm not gonna beat a Fire Emblem game. But I think the reviewers are all kind of spot on that it's worse than the last one. Probably better than Birthright and all those ones there. And if I had to put this in like my like ranking of the last kind of few I don't know, the last few Fire Emblem games, I would say it's like, you know what? Actually, I don't know. I think it's worse than Fates and Conquest and Birthright. I think it's the worst game.
It is not.
Yeah, no, I think
It is not worse than Rewrite.
No, it is. I like those games a
Revelations.
lot. And you know what? Those games reviewed better than this one did. Obviously, they had less reviews, but not that many less. You know what? Yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna be real with you here. This one is the worst. Maybe Birthright is below it a little bit, but Awakening, Conquest, Revelations, Three Houses, heaps above it. This one goes a little lower than that. Yeah, maybe it'll change my mind, but so far, no bueno. Just
Well, I'm just the girl that thinks that Echoes is the best Fire Emblem, so
I agree with you though.
there you go.
Echoes is incredible. I'm with you on that. That's a good one.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
I love Echoes. Echoes is a great game. It's great. It's because it's old school, but it's a good time. That's the Shadows of Valencia one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that shit's fucking dope. Look, that's the one time where I'm fine with the weapon wheel and shit because that was the old one. That was when it was meant. That was how it was done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with that shit. It's just like, don't give me the new stuff. You know what I mean? Like, in my new shit, I'm just like, let's be new. Let's keep moving the series forward. You know what I mean? Like that's my sort of. That's where I kind of start to get a little like, I'm like, let's just keep moving forward. Let's not like take 6 steps back. That's all. But no, I'm with you on that. I love Echoes. I had a great time with that game. That game kicked my ass when I first played it. I was like, oh, this is Fire Emblem.
Yep. Say pleasant and surprising points of agreement for us to find at the end there.
Well, the thing is, we both love Fire Emblem a lot. We just love slightly different parts of it. But that's the good thing about Fire Emblem. There's lots to it. Anyway, I guess I did have a lot to say about the games that I was playing. It just bubbles out of me. But I have nothing else to say because I haven't played Theatrhythm this week because I've been playing Fire Emblem and I haven't played Dead Space because I haven't touched my Xbox. So that's it. Which means it's time to move on to our topic, which our topic this week is about knowledge-based games. Because Paula brought this up actually because there is this video by oh no. What was the name of the dude who did this? Super Dude. That's it. Super Dude. His channel where he talked about knowledge-based unlocks in video games. And to give like a really quick breakdown of what this means. Essentially it's the idea how like in Metroidvanias, right? Typically you find a thing and it's like, oh look, this door, like in Metroid, this door red. Can't get through this door. What's going on? Right? And you're like, oh no, how do I get through? So you run around, you go do things, and you find doors that you can't get through, and then you kill a boss, and then you go to a Chozo statue, and the Chozo statue goes, hello, good sir, I give you missiles. And you're like, oh shit, that's cool. And then they lock the door on you, and you shoot it, and you're like, oh, the door's red. And you're like, oh, I can open the red door now. And so you go off, and you open the red door. And voila, you have item-based unlocks, right? Like it is upgrade-based unlocks, which are Metroidvanias in a nutshell, where, and then you feel smart because you figured it out, you connect to the things, you're like, I saw it, that was pretty cool, I figured it out, right? And Zelda does this, and it's fun, nothing wrong with that. It's a pretty common way of doing them. Whereas knowledge-based unlocks, that's a whole other bag of worms. Which, have either of you played Tunic, actually? I can't remember if you guys have played it yet.
Not yet, no.
Paula, why don't you tell us a
Tunic,
bit what a knowledge-based unlock is?
So instead of having a thing that lets you progress forward to the game, you have a piece of knowledge that hasn't been revealed to you until a certain point in the game. For example, Tunic, where you start collecting these pages of a manual, and some of them include instructions on how to execute certain moves. For example, if you want to roll forward to avoid enemies early in the game, you can. But if you, by some reason, don't know you can do that, you eventually get a page that tells you, hey, press A and move forward and you roll. And then it's like, hey, I can do this and I could have done this from the very beginning of the game. So in that sense, when you're playing an knowledge unlock based game, you do get that first experience where you are like learning the ropes of the thing, and then if you want to do a second playthrough, you're a fucking expert already, and then you can do things from the very beginning and explore areas that you maybe didn't think were possible to explore, but hey, you did have the way to do it, you just didn't know that yet.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because like it points out that there's two types, right? There's the one that what you talked about in Tunic, where it's like literally it's just that you just don't know the rules of the world, right? Where it's like you don't know the things that you can do yet. And as you learn the things that you can do, it's like, oh, holy shit, I can go do a bunch of stuff that. And I think what's neat about it is that unlike a game like in Metroid, where you cannot progress until you get the thing, the only reason you're not progressing in knowledge-based with knowledge-based unlocks is just because you just don't know yet. But you could theoretically just figure it out and find something, right? And you could stumble onto it by accident, which is often what happens in these games. You stumble into something and you're like, wait, what is this? And then you realize you don't know yet, so you have to come back later. But he also mentions how like there are some games like the Souls-like games, right, where they don't necessarily have knowledge-based unlocks per se, but there is kind of this sense of like the surprises, right? Like, you know how in a lot of Souls-like games, you turn a corner and then, surprise, there's actually a dude right there and you don't know until you get hit. But then if you go to play the game again, you just know they're there, right? And it's not really like, you couldn't have known beforehand. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you were missing some kind of knowledge and now you can go exploit the game. It's just like, now I just know what's going to happen, which is really different, right? You're not going to actually fundamentally change your experience of the game. You're just going to have a little more knowledge of how to beat something, right? Like, it's not actually, it doesn't give you a new dimension. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
for example, the game they actually put as an example was Sekiro, because it really owns that knowledge-based unlock, in the sense of, hey, usually on your second playthrough, the game might be a little dull because you already know like what's waiting for you. But in Sekiro, like, you kind of get into this rhythm on the game, because you already know how to beat the enemies. You know that guy is gonna hit you like 3 times before you're able to hit them, and then you are able to progress forward, or like just hit it to death or whatever. And in Demon Souls, for example, funny you said that you don't know that guy is there, and unless you explore that place, it whacks you in the head with a stick or something. Because I actually had that happening to me, and before I entered, I went through a door. There was a little message left by another player saying, "There's a coward, turn left, there's a coward." And it was like, "Thank you, sir or lady. I don't know who you are, but thank you very much." Because otherwise, it would have like beaten me to death, because of how unforgiving the game is at times. And in that case, like, hey, I have the knowledge, I can avoid it. And then I can move forward and get even farther and farther as I learn how the game works or how the enemies are positioned.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I don't know, maybe what I'd like to talk about too is like, do we like these as well? Because something that I was thinking about, and like maybe this just betrays how much of a dummy I am, but like a lot of these knowledge-based unlock games, oh fuck, I gotta use a guide for like so much of it. Because I think part of what I think is interesting, and maybe one of the, and I don't know if this is necessarily unique to knowledge-based unlock games, but when you think about a knowledge-based, you know, the idea that it's based on knowledge, there's only so much that you can learn about the game, right? So you get to a point wherein, as you're starting it, you're learning a lot of information, right? And you're getting all this new stuff, and it's allowing you to find all these things, and it's allowing you to unlock new stuff, and you're progressing. But you inevitably hit a point wherein you have learned so much that now
there's a very small amount of information that you actually have to learn. And the problem is, where the fuck is it? Because again, you know what I mean, right? Like you no longer actually know, especially if it's extremely nonlinear, like Tunic is, or Outer Wilds even, really. That even more so Outer Wilds, I would say. You no longer really are sure where you should go to look for the information because you have so much knowledge now that it's hard for you to figure out where your gaps in knowledge are. You know what I mean? And like, I find that it can end up becoming extremely frustrating because you're like, I know I can't progress, but I don't know what fucking little thing that I need right now because I feel like I've explored this entire freaking place and I don't know where to go anymore. And it seems to me like it's one of the potential kind of downfalls of them, but I don't know. Rick, what do you think? I've been talking for so long.
Well, I think that's an interesting one where you think about what makes gaming as a medium unique, because there is no other medium that will gate your progression in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It adds an element of realism, the possibility that you can miss things like that. But I also think, from a meta perspective, we see more and more games like this in part because game makers know that you can lean on a guide. That's my view on it anyway. You can take risks with asking the player to pick up different bits of knowledge and piece them together, because you know that if they can't, they can just Google it and pick up and crack on from there. I think it's interesting thinking about how that has evolved as well, because knowledge-based gaming at its inception would have been passwords.
Yeah.
You put the right string of letters and numbers in, you can skip to the final boss in a game, but you wouldn't know them unless you get to that point. And I suppose you can almost say from the beginning they've been a roadblock in that sense, because you had to write that code down somewhere, otherwise you couldn't restore your progress at the very earliest sort of juncture of gaming. I think the real strength of knowledge-based games, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet myself, but the Outer Wilds, this seems to be a massive point in its favor that people often throw out. That beautiful sort of aha moment of puzzle solving is what knowledge-based progression gives you. And it's another opportunity for it to do that. In a sense, all progression is knowledge-based because, yes, you have the tool, but then it's realizing how to use it. But obviously,
I think the difference though is that,
like in that case, you have a tool to use, right? Whereas in knowledge base, there is no tool. It's simply what you know.
It's just that you're using your brain. Yeah. And I think I probably agree broadly with you, Alex, in that while I like it, I do probably find more frustration stems from it. But I also think I haven't played loads of games where that is necessarily required of you.
Right? It's like...
Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, conceptually, I love it, right? Like, it's like a thing that, like, it's such a great idea. And then I think about the games that I actually love the most and play the most. Never those. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Probably a fantastic example of that is when you think about, like, games that have endings and true endings, and it's only by completing the first ending that it gives you hints to what sort of arcane extra things you need to do to actually see the true ending. Castlevania is often at fault for this. Nier Automata, absolutely. Although with that one, you do have to beat the A route first. It's not that you, with different knowledge, could skip the A route.
Right.
So it's slightly different. But I think of something like Order of Ecclesia, my favorite Castlevania game. And I'm not going to go into spoilers because I know that this is one you might come back to. You didn't actually finish it when you played it last time. There are a number of not very well signposted and off the beaten path triggers you need to hit to see the true ending. It's very unlikely that you would hit them in a regular playthrough. On my first playthrough, I think I hit all but one of them, and there's a cutscene at the end of the regular end that highlights all the things that you would have needed to do and didn't do in order to see the true end. Now, obviously, that then encourages you to go back and do those extra things and then hit the ending sequence again. But again, the tool that you've gained is not a particular new ability, a new string to your bow or anything like that. It's just the game has told you need to go somewhere and do another thing in order for a different ending to trigger. And had you known that at the start, you could have ticked all those boxes and gone and seen the true end anyway. And I think, again, to come back to your point, this is something that a lot of us will do. Playing a game with a guide, we'll just hit all those trigger points because we've taken a shortcut to that knowledge.
Yeah, because why would I want to go back after?
In that
right?
case,
But that
visual
speaks to us seeing a waste of time, right? Like the idea is not, oh, I want to experience this game as the developer made it. It's almost, I want to experience this game in the optimal way the first time. And I think that then speaks to more the motivations of the player than it does anything else.
Yeah.
In that case, then you have some visual novels that I think enter that realm of knowledge-based game. Not necessarily like the other games that I play, because some of them like get you from a certain route until you do the other routes. But for example, Steins Gate, you could, in theory, get the true ending on your first playthrough if you know where to look. And that is a very big if, because of how the decision system works, because it isn't like the regular visual novel in the sense of, oh, hit A or hit B. It's like, when are you responding to that message, or when are you doing that thing?
Visual novels are such a grey area for that kind of thing, though, because it's not a game where you ever get tools. It's more a case of you're experiencing the story. And that story is often designed around you seeing the wrong routes first. I was going to try and tie 13 Sentinels in that, but it doesn't really fit in the same way.
There's always a way.
There's always a way. And in a roundabout way, I have succeeded because we're talking about it now. Anyway, sorry.
The other thing that I do like that knowledge-based unlocks, I do agree in the sense of, hey, where is the one piece of knowledge that I need for me to finish this stupid game? Or like, but it is kind of like when you're in a collectathon in a way. Like, you're still looking for a thing that you need to either beat the game or like do a completionist run. And then it's like frustrating because you don't know, between all of the things you've been collecting, you don't know where to look. So in a way, I don't think it's any different from like regular unlocks or like collectathons in that regard. The thing is that in most knowledge-based unlocks, you have to get them to go forward. And in that case, they are relying on you to get the guide. But I have to say, Dark Souls does a fantastic job with that because of how the community thing works, where you have hints from other players that have been playing the game for longer than you. And you can rate those hints. So in the case of someone trolling the other players, like go forward and then you fall off a cliff, you know it is a bad hint because people have been rating it badly. And the other thing that I wanted to touch upon is that there's some, you could say there's some mixed unlocks. For example, I'm going to talk about Breath of the Wild because why not? You do get items like bombs and not items, sorry, runes. The bombs runes and the stasis rune and the cryonis rune. But you can discover new ways on how to use them to use their full potential, because you obviously can just drop off a bomb and call it a day. But you could also tie that bomb to a octoballoon and fan it with a coral cliff to a nearby camp and make explode that way, like over the enemies. And they don't know what hit them or who hit them, which is kind of fun. Sorry. Sometimes when I talk about Breath of the Wild, I feel like I come across like a little bit of a sociopath or a psychopath. And anyway, or the other thing you can do, like those are more like exploits. But for example, you could propel yourself with cryonis if you tilt jump just at the right time and hit the ice block as it is lifting up. And then you are able to do like such a high jump that you wouldn't usually be able to do. Or another example is, oh no, that one is an exploit. Wind bombs don't count.
Well, I was gonna
Those
say,
are totally an exploit.
Cool stuff, though, isn't it? That is all stuff that's utilizing the new abilities you get rather than learning knowledge that allows you to sidestep other stuff or do things differently. And
That
I
is
suppose this is where
true.
it gets.
That's why I call it mixed, because you get a new item, but then how you use that item is up to you.
And this is where it gets tricky from a definitional footing, because tools and knowledge intersect in many ways, because the tool's only good as your knowledge of how and where to use it, but that's not necessarily knowledge based.
yeah,
So it's difficult.
because I also think maybe to like, if we're trying to get like to a closer definition, kind of like what Super Dude sort of talks about, where it's like, does the developer intend for you to use this knowledge to progress, right? And it's like,
Right.
in these games like Tunic and Outer Wilds and whatnot, they're specifically giving you information. They give it to you to use. Whereas what you're sort of talking about, I think is awesome, but it's slightly different, right? It's like systems that, for example, Breath of the Wild doesn't tell you how to do that stuff, right? Like they'll give you information about how to use a bomb in general, but then they give you the freedom to explore and have fun, right? Which I think is a slightly different, but also great sort of, which actually I would probably argue I prefer even more than knowledge-based unlocks, is just like the freedom to fuck around a little bit within restraints. But yeah, I think maybe we've sort of bumped up against maybe the limits of the definition a little bit, where it's like now because again, I think anytime tools come into play is when you've actually left the realm of knowledge-based, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, now because once you unlock a thing, you've unlocked something already, right? You've unlocked a tool that now you can go and use however you desire. Whereas, but then again, I guess some of the tools, maybe you're given a tool from the beginning, like in Outer Wilds, you're given a scanner from the beginning, and but you don't really learn how to use it differently. No, I don't know. Maybe for me, that'll be the limits, or it's like knowledge that just allows you to do something that you could always do in the game, right? But you didn't know you could do that yet. Yeah.
Oh, the other things, for example, the tricks that you can do on Super Mario 64 on like Super Mario Odyssey. Like you could go through the entire game like with the basic jumps, but then you can do like special jumps.
Yeah.
And those are technically knowledge based, but they aren't required to beat the game.
Yeah, I would say those are definitely, yeah, because again, that's something you can do from the very beginning, right? And when you learn about them, you could theoretically skip a lot of stuff in the game, and like you can experience the game in a whole different way. Nice. And it's like, and I guess it depends, because like if Nintendo teaches you to do them, but anyway, you know what? It's funny. Knowledge-based unlock games, I feel like to me are like art house films, where I totally love them. They're great. But I don't want to watch them all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I got to be in the mood for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me a good old blockbuster once in a while, like most of the time. And then every once in a while, I would like a nice little beautiful art house piece of film or a knowledge-based unlock to just whet my appetite. But I don't think I could play them all the time because they get a little too intense.
As with all things, variety is the spice of life.
Ain't that true? Should we move on, do you think?
I think I've exhausted what I can add to this, absolutely.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, then let's move on to... How long to beat the game? I think this is the last round, and I believe it's against... I think me and Rick are going up, so Paula's going to have the game, because currently Paula is in the lead with 11. Oh, wait, we do it last week, Rick? Or was it Paula and I? It was Paula and I, wasn't it?
It was you two last week, yeah. And we maybe go for one more game week after this.
Yeah, I'll see
Maybe
how
we
good
don't.
it
I
is.
don't know. It's probably a good time to shout out that now that Paula's actually started Sisters of Sleeper, we have picked the next How Long to Beat the Game, which was my back-to-back pick, and we have settled on Moonscars. We've
Really
generally
cool
sort of been
game,
aiming
yeah.
for games that are on Game Pass, like no or low barrier to entry. This is one that me and Alex both played and enjoyed the demo of. And Paula doesn't have to pay anything to partake in either. So
And I think you like this
that's one we've
Paula.
landed on. I think it's one we'll all get a kick out of for sure. And we'll find out more about it as the weeks progress.
Indeed.
So we've stored long enough for you, Paula. What game are we considering this week?
Okay, so I had to reroll a couple of times because one of the games was Immortality. So and that
That's
was
a weird
the recent
one.
Yeah. So the game we have here is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition.
Ooh.
Is what, sorry?
Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition.
Okay. Uh-oh. Spaghetti-o.
I may or may not have seen this one recently.
God damn it.
Well, actually, no, not this particular one. I think it was the newer one. Because wasn't there like a Hyrule Warriors 3 something?
Age of Calamity, yeah.
Isn't Age of Calamity the Breath of the Zelda one?
Age
Oh,
of
this is
Calamity
Hyrule
is
Warriors.
the-
Oh, sorry. Why was I thinking this was the Fire Emblem Warriors? Hyrule Warriors. I haven't looked at this one recently.
There's a difference there.
That was something
between
different,
Hyrule
wasn't it?
Warriors.
Do you know what? I was thinking about the Dynasty Warriors one as well, the Musou.
It is Dynasty. It is a Dynasty
Yeah.
Warriors type game.
It is a Dynasty Warriors game.
Right, so is this the first one, or is this the one that originally released on 3DS and then they ported?
Well, Definitive Edition. This must be the ported one,
It
right?
was actually originally released on Wii U, then on 3DS, then on Switch. This is the definitive edition, so it is the Switch release.
God, they got their money's worth, didn't they? Fuck. Only Nintendo. Right, so
What's our special thing this time, Paula?
and for new listeners, there's 5 points up for grabs. There's one for each of the main plus and 100% times, and then what Paula's about to throw us is worth 2 extra points, 5 points each, at most up for grabs. Sorry, as you were.
There's 2 possible questions for this. So I'm gonna go with okay, there's people who have emulated the game. How long did it take them to go to 100%?
Oh, okay.
100%. Jesus Christ.
On an
100%
emulator.
for emulator.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm going to send you my first things first. I'm going to think about this one here.
Yeah.
On an emulator. Interesting. Interesting. Emulator fellows. Fuck, I don't know. Like, is it more? Like, this is the question now is like, would it be any more or less than like the normal
Or
time?
less. Yeah. How does this split out? Oh, I hate this 2-point question. No offense, Paula. I don't know what to do with this at all.
I don't know either. I'm having a bit of a
sorry.
moment here.
I'm just gonna say I actually played all 3 iterations of this game. And the 3DS version was the worst one.
No, I don't believe you.
Yeah, that makes
It
perfect
was
sense.
because of how God damn it, I wasn't looking at your
Oh,
face, so
Bless you, you
getting
thought I
the
was
joke.
sincere. I don't believe that the handheld port of the console game didn't run as well. That shocks me to my core, Paula.
All right, I put in all my times. I'm not feeling great about these ones, but
Nope, me neither.
we'll see.
I don't know how crazy to go with 100% on
Me neither.
the regular or the other one, and I've put a big time and I still feel like I've probably undershot it massively. Anyway,
Yeah,
throw us some numbers, Paula. We're locked in.
I don't think I went high enough, probably, but we'll see.
Alex, what's your thing with the half hours?
I like half hours. It gives me wiggle room.
Yeah, but okay, so this is the thing. You wrote it as a fraction, like 1 divided in 2 on 2 of
Oh,
them.
whoops, sorry. Let me do.
And then you went 30 minutes in the other one.
I forgot how I write them usually. There we go. There we go. No, wait. Oh no, now it says 130 minutes.
Consistent.
Okay, now it's fixed.
Okay.
They're all half hours because we don't.
So-
They don't do any other type.
Boo.
Ooh. So this is interesting. So for main story, Alex says 17 hours and 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And Rick says 16 hours. I'm sorry, Rick, because Alex is almost on the money. If he didn't went for that extra half hour, he would have been spot on. The main story
Oh.
of the game lasts 17 hours. So the point goes to Alex.
Hey.
Boo.
My half hours actually betrayed me this time. Well, no, I guess not. But-
Almost betrayed you because,
Mhm.
or
Meh.
like, it would have been like, never mind.
Let's not re-legislate half hours. They're wrong, but we tolerate them. What's the main plus time,
They're
Paula?
on the site.
The
Okay.
main plus time, Alex says 34 hours and a half, and Rick says 30 hours. Sorry, Rick. Alex gets the point because he's spot on. It is
Hmm.
34 and a half hours for main and side.
Damn right. I times 2. It's like, but I think you're about to get a
For
point on me, Rick.
Maybe.
For completionist, Alex says 100 hours and a half. Weird time. And Rick says 150 hours. And both of you undershot it like
Oh.
big time because
What?
the actual completionist time for this is 366 hours.
Fuck off.
Excuse
Remember-
me. Sorry, I
Are you
beg your pardon. What?
serious?
Sorry, what?
Remember, this version of the game has
my
all the
God.
previously released contents of the game, that were both on the 3DS and the Wii U versions, because both of them has exclusive contents, plus all the DLC released for the game.
That is a silly amount of time. Anyway, okay. And put us out of our misery. Is
Yeah,
emulated
There's no way I got
is
near that.
emulated higher or lower? It surely must be lower.
It is higher.
What?
I beg your pardon.
I think I'm screwed then.
Uh-oh.
So
What time did Alex put? Go on.
Alex says 155 hours, and
Yeah.
Rick says 120 hours. Sorry, it is 500 hours.
Oh shit!
Alex gets the 2
Ridiculous.
points.
Oh
That's
shit.
ridiculous.
Okay, okay. Wow, I was not even. I way undershot at all of those. I was trying to think. I was like, I guess emulated could be longer, but then at the same time, maybe they're just playing more if it's emulated. Like I was like, I don't know. But emulated probably. How many scores are there for emulated? Like how many times have actually been tabulated?
2 times actually.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's silly. Okay, right.
There was another fun question that I could have asked. How many playable characters are in the definitive version of the game?
That would have been a better question for sure.
60.
Straw
I
poll.
don't know.
No point. I'm going to say 61.
It is 29.
Oh,
Ah,
I would have got it anyway.
Well, again.
Price is righted me the wrong way.
Oh, the price is wrong.
Yeah. Shit. Okay. Well, then that means right now it's 14 for me, 11 for Paula, 7 for Rick. Which do we have one more round? I think, right? I don't know.
I mean, we can do.
Or is that it? Do I get to win?
It's it when we want it to be. Like, if you want the dub, that's fine.
Did we
I
do
don't mind
2
going
full
for the game
rounds?
week.
Was that it?
I assume so. Yeah, because the numbers roughly add up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we should probably cap it there because Rick, you're not going to get close at this point. Like, I don't know, Paolo. What are you? You fine with that, or what? Are you feeling?
I mean,
I
between
could
Paolo and you, there's
keep
every
going.
chance.
Yeah.
With you, yeah.
We could do another full round if you want. I mean, we just picked the new game.
We'll
That would
worry
be
about this
fun.
off recording. This isn't riveting podcast
True.
content. We can let.
I like to
people
see
know
how
what
the
we
sausage
decided
gets
next
made.
week. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. That was another fantastic week of gaming. We'll see you all next week. Toodaloo.
Peace.
Bye.